Recently, we've had this outbreak in Lagos infecting over 300 people and about 15 people dying. It keeps increasing the numbers.
15 people have died already due to the cholera. And these numbers may continue to increase because this is just in Lagos.
Yes.
I'm sure there are some other places where the reporting system is not so developed, and then there are people being affected without even knowing about this. Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Med Corner, a captivating podcast dedicated to exploring the vast and ever-evolving world of health and medicine. I'm Dr. Yahweh, and together with my colleague Dr. Oxby, we'll be discussing a very important topic. I'm sure in the past few days, you all may have been seeing some news headlines either on your TV or on social media about cholera outbreaks, and you're wondering what's going on. So today we're here to give a little light on that. Dr. Oxby, how are you doing?
I'm fine.
I know you like to eat out a lot. So how have you been coping with this whole thing?
I don't like to eat out a lot, by the way, but
all right. Anyway, that's noted. So, but why is this important for us to discuss this today?
Okay, the thing is, cholera is a disease that has plagued humanity for centuries and is still here with us. Like, despite the advances in modern medicine, it's still here with us, affecting millions of people and killing people yearly. And recently, we've had this outbreak in Lagos infecting over 300 people and about 15 people dying. And it keeps increasing the numbers.
Wow, 15 people have died already due to the cholera. And these numbers may continue to increase because this is just in Lagos.
Yes.
I'm sure there are some other places where the reporting system is not so developed, and then there are people being affected without even knowing about this. And that's why we're here to educate them about, to educate everyone about what cholera is. So cholera is a disease that is caused by eating contaminated food or drinking contaminated water. It's caused by bacteria, and that bacteria can be in our food and in our water, and then by the time we ingest it, we come down with the whole disease. And it can progress so fast that within hours or within days, people lose their lives to it. So please don't go anywhere. We'd like you to listen so that you know how to protect yourself against this. So what are some of the symptoms of cholera?
The thing is, a lot of people take cholera for granted because sometimes it presents like the regular diarrheal diseases that people have. But with cholera, it's not everybody that has cholera that comes down with severe symptoms. There are people that have like mild symptoms. There are people that are asymptomatic, but there are people that come down with severe profuse diarrhea that is uncontrollable, and they may present with vomiting too. Fever is rare except in the younger age groups.
Okay. So I'm sure someone might be wondering, so how is it that people eat? How is it that my food or my water will get contaminated with this? Now, if someone comes down with cholera, in one way or the other, you may have eaten food or drunk water that is contaminated with feces. Because that's the major...
So last, that's what it means, that you've come in contact with feces.
In one way or the other, directly or indirectly, feces. Because just as you mentioned earlier on, some people have mild diseases, meaning that maybe the diarrhea, or they might not even have vomiting, they might not even have diarrhea, but they have ingested this bacteria and they have it in their system. Now what happens? They go to toilets, they pass it in their feces. Now, imagine that particular person lives somewhere around where the sockaway is close to a well, and then there are some community members who drink from that well water. Now, what has happened? Somehow, yes, they have they have come in contact with the feces of that person who had mild disease. So I would later come to see that this problem is not a problem of one person. It's a communal problem. It's a societal problem, because until everyone is safe,
Exactly.
nobody is safe. Until everyone is safe, nobody is safe. We'll also discuss means on how we can prevent this, and then the roles of communities, the roles of government in handling these issues. So for the symptoms, you talked about vomiting, you talked about
severe
diarrhea, purging, what people will call purging, passage of loose stool. We talked about fever.
It even gets to the extent that, like, at some point, this stool just looks like rice water. Like, you won't see any feces inside. It's just rice water that people keep passing. And then the rate of losing water is so much that, like, in less than 24 hours, like, you could lose 250 ml per kg of water per hour. So imagine how much water somebody would lose in a day.
That's really serious. And then to think about it, that majority of our body is water. We have a large amount of water in us, and then by the time you begin to lose this water via vomiting or passing it in stool, you don't have any water left in your body, and then what happens? That's death.
And that's the major problem in cholera, that dehydration, the severe dehydration. It gets to a point that it causes renal failure because of the shock and decreased blood, water in the body.
Okay, so you mean that when someone is dehydrated, it can affect their kidneys too?
Yes.
That's really serious. So it's also important to add that apart from dehydration, apart from the fact that they are losing water, there are some components of the blood, components of the fluids in our body.
Those electrolytes.
Yeah, it's called electrolytes. And these are chemical substances in our blood, in our body, in the fluids in our body. You hear of sodium, you hear of bicarbonate, you hear of potassium. They have very, very important functions in the body. And what's even more important about this chemical substance, this electrolyte, is that they are maintained within a narrow limit, such that, for example, for potassium, it's supposed to be within 3.5 to 5.5. Now that looks very, very 3.5 to 5.5. That's the if you check check the range. It's very, very narrow. Yeah. So anything below 3.5, you're already tilting the person to a problem. Anything above 5.5, a problem. So by the time you're losing fluids, by the time you're losing these fluids from your body, it means your potassium is also dropping. And it means the function that the potassium electrolyte is supposed to be performing in the body, it won't be able to perform. And what would that then lead to it? So
that's why staying hydrated is very, very important. Not just with water, but water containing those electrolytes, like the ORS. And if you're not able to get ORS, there are other modalities like making your own at home.
Exactly. So how would somebody, I know there are sachet ORS these days in pharmacies, in stores, how for someone who cannot afford it or who doesn't have that luxury to go and get it, I'm also aware that people can prepare this at home. So can you quickly run through how this is done?
Usually you use 6 teaspoons of sugar and half teaspoon of salt in 1 liter of water, or it could be 8 teaspoons of sugar and 1 full teaspoon of level teaspoon of salt in 1 liter of water. So you can measure 1 liter with taking a big swan bottle and then counting, I think it's 2 lines or 3 lines down, decanting the water, and then from that level,
3 lines.
Yeah, from that level, putting your salt and sugar in there. Now you have to be careful to use water that is treated, else you'd keep reinfecting yourself with cholera.
Imagine that you carry water that is contaminated with cholera, and then you're drinking you're drinking the ORS contaminated.
I mean, if you don't have swan, you need to boil your water at home, and you need to boil it for at least 10 minutes. That 10 minutes is important because there was a study that was carried out a few years ago, and then there was cholera, the bacteria causing cholera, Vibrio cholerae, in crab, and they cooked it for 8 minutes. And they discovered that it was still alive after 8 minutes. It survived after 8 minutes.
Boiling water after 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's important that you boil it till 10 minutes because I guess that's when, from start to finish, the water gets to its boiling point, 100 degrees centigrade. So it's
That means
important.
we need to be clear about that. The 10 minutes is not when you set it on fire. The 10 minutes, when the water starts boiling, that's where the 10 minutes counts from.
Okay. I think that should be where it counts from because I don't think it would take less than that for water to get to its boiling point in less than 10 minutes.
Okay.
So when your water starts boiling, then you leave it for 10 minutes.
Gas.
What do you say about
But
gas?
I'm saying gas is expensive,
Okay.
but we need to survive. Your health is more expensive. Your health is priceless.
Exactly. It's who is alive that would go and get money to buy gas.
Alright.
Yeah, so in fact, it doesn't have to be gas. I don't know which is even more expensive now, gas or kerosene or even the
Just find a way to boil the
local
water,
coal.
sha.
But you need to boil the water, or better still, if you can afford the Swan water, you can just go and then get it. But talking about Swan, I just remember that I've seen a lot of news on social media, and then some of these factories some factories in some areas that were found, and you see that they make this water inside their rooms. Guess what they use as sieves? Clothes, people's materials, clothes, and then they fetch this water from the well, and then they package it in Swan water.
And it's not like they treated it before even packaging, which is wrong, even if you treat it.
Very, very, very wrong. So the problem here is multi-dimensional, and this is where the government comes into place to help discover some of those hideouts,
Preventing and controlling.
So we'll talk about that also. So it's also important that we state that it's not all diarrhea and then vomiting that people quickly go to the medicine store and then they say,
give me Flagyl. Give me antibiotics. You swallow directly.
Flagyl has suffered. Guys, Flagyl is an antibiotics. Flagyl is an antibiotics. It should be taken only when prescribed by the medical doctor. It's not every way you feel and then you run to the chemists in quotes, or you run to the medicine store and say, please, I have typhoid and malaria, give me Flagyl, and then it give you, and then you take it. That can even predispose you to what we call antimicrobial resistance. Yeah, so that it's a different topic on its own, but you don't want to abuse antibiotics to the point where the time you really need it, they are giving you Flagyl and it's not working in your body. It's going to be a big issue because the other antibiotics are more expensive and may not even be readily available, and you're just deteriorating with an infection, and then there's no antibiotics working for you. So it's not any diarrhea and vomiting or fever or any way you're feeling that you go and get any antibiotics over the counter.
There's some kind of diarrhea in quotes that, taking antibiotics would even worsen the situation for the person. Then you keep thinking it's your village people that are after you.
That's serious. So there are some that by the time you even take the antibiotics makes it worse.
Yeah.
So please, it's important that you just get to the hospital when this comes up. He has stated that the most important thing to do, because you cannot diagnose yourself, you have to meet a professional. The most important thing to do when you begin to have this diarrhea is to get your ORS, simply and short. So
I think we can talk about prevention and control. How do we prevent cholera?
Okay. So since we've highlighted that this disease in the first place is transmitted through eating or drinking contaminated food and water, respectively, then the first way to prevent it is to avoid eating and drinking food and water contaminated with the bacteria. You'd be asking yourself, so how do I know? How do I do this?
There's a reason why cholera originated from India. You've seen like Instagram with all those street vendors and street food.
That's where it started from.
Exactly.
Wow. So it's not even an African issue. It started from those part of Asia. And then, just as you said, there's a reason why it originated from there. And there's a reason why it is rampant in Africa because I'm sure a lot of us do street foods. So please be careful on how you do that. Boil your food very well. Boil your food very well. I'm repeating that any food that is not being cooked properly should be avoided. Or you should be sure of the state. You should be sure of who did it or that you did it yourself to avoid that. So another way to prevent it is to always wash your hands after using the toilet. Always wash your hands after using the toilet. Imagine I used the toilet and then after using it, you just came out and then you come and then you just meet your guy.
I don't feel like I don't want to shake you. But okay.
How far now? What will he go and do? Maybe you just reach the gates and then you see a woman selling maize and then you buy the maize, use your hand, that same hand.
You even cut and give somebody.
You even cut. Maybe you share it into like 5.
Yeah.
And then share it for your guys. You're not just sharing love. You're sharing...
Like because of this scenario you just described, there's a recent argument, should I say argument or movement about the right way to wash your hands, if it's after you use the restroom or before you use the restroom. But to me, I would say, before and after, because imagine like I shook you that way and then using that and I'm going to the restroom too, and then I'm using the contaminated hand to touch my very important areas.
There's even a lot of things about washing hands.
Maybe we should talk about it sometimes and the proper way people need to wash their hands.
Exactly. Maybe in one of the next episodes we'll do that because imagine you open the door, use your hand to open the door, you go inside, you use the same hand to unlock the tap and all of that. So there are ways to do this. You can use other parts of your hand by the time you're done with that, or you clean it before you go on. We'll talk about this in detail, but washing your hands before and after using the toilet is very important, guys. Are there other points?
Yeah, for prevention, washing of vegetables and fruits from the market. Because, apart from cholera, there are other diseases too that are transmitted fecal-orally. So washing of your vegetables with soap, vinegar, just make sure you wash your vegetables and fruits properly before consuming them.
And it should be under running water. That's very important, under running water. And sometimes you can use salt and just as you said, mention some other chemical substances that can be used because these vegetables usually we don't boil vegetables to that heat, so it can reach the temperature that that to be able to kill the bacteria.
And if it reaches that temperature, you're like killing the vegetables.
So that's 2-0. So what you do is to wash your vegetables properly, wash it under running water. Earlier on, I talked about situation of wells close to soccerways and all of this. So I think this is where the community comes in place, government comes into...
Because there are guidelines for all these things, but people don't usually follow them. You would see a pit latrine very close to the river, very close to like water bodies where people like depend on. So
all this affects and then foster the transmission of cholera. Guys, cholera can affect everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in the upper or the lower strata of the society, but as long as everybody within that society is not safe, then nobody is safe. So it's important that everybody, both governments, regulatory bodies, and individuals, community leaders, and community members all come together so that we can end this and then eradicate this, reduce the death toll that's going on. Don't say it's not, Abuja, it's only in Lagos, it's not coming. You saw what happened with COVID, you saw what happened with Ebola.
Even developed countries like suffer cholera, not as much as us, but it's still there.
So it's important that we come together to end this. So please, you can ask us your questions, drop your comments in the comment section, and we'll be here to answer it either in future episodes or even directly under the comment sections, guys.
Okay. So I would like to say that cholera is a very preventable disease. It can be mild, but that mild disease can become life-threatening in a matter of hours. So it's very important to seek help promptly.
Thank you very much, Agbag. So I'll say it again. Until everybody is safe,
Nobody
is safe.
Word.
Peace, guy. Take care.
Take care, guys. See you in the next episode.